My name is Laura Triplet. I'm a professor of geology and environmental science. This is a public service announcement about recent developments at Enbridge Line 3's crossing of Walker Brook in Clearwater County, Minnesota. As of January 2023, state agencies have only made public announcements about 3 sites that were damaged by Enbridge, not including Walker Brook, so we are providing this update from the field. At Walker Brook, Enbridge constructed the tar sands pipeline directly across a glacial outwash valley without doing basic geologic investigation first. Tribal authorities and independent scientists had warned that these types of valleys and wetlands would be vulnerable to permanent hydrologic damage and that the route should go elsewhere, or at the least that a thorough investigation of the groundwater flow should be conducted before construction. The Department of Natural Resources and Minnesota Pollution Control Agency also opposed this route. In other words, this problem was predictable and preventable. Nevertheless, Enbridge fought for and lobbied to keep this route, and they won. We, the public, do not yet know the specifics about how Enbridge did construction at Walker Brook. However, we do know that after they dug a deep trench, laid the pipeline, and then backfilled the trench, groundwater was welling up to the land surface at several locations directly above the pipeline itself. The nature of the groundwater upwelling strongly suggests that a confined aquifer has been breached here, similarly to the 3 other sites that have been reported by state agencies. This has caused the hill slope to become unstable, making it difficult or impossible for Enbridge to plant vegetation as they're required to do, and also the upwelling water may have been destabilizing the pipeline. So Enbridge brought the heavy equipment back in and is trying to fix the problem. I think for the average person looking at this, it might look like any other construction zone you've ever seen. We all see these kinds of trucks and backhoes digging and driving around all the time. But there are 3 important differences here at Walker Brook. Number 1, this was a natural forested valley specifically designated as public land. And as such, it served to protect Walker Brook, a headwater stream of the Red River of the North, from pollution and erosion. Also, the forest and peatlands provided habitat for wildlife, including game species, in what is otherwise a pretty largely agricultural area. So this isn't just any old construction site, it was a special natural forest. Number 2, understand that soil is not just dirt. Living soil contains literally billions of life forms, from microbes to insect, fungi to plants, hibernating amphibians and reptiles and rodents, all existing in complex relationships to each other. For example, forest ecologists are just recently learning how plants and trees communicate with each other through fungal networks in the soil. Like, it's been shown that older trees, called mother trees by some leading scientists, send nutrients to young trees of their own species through complex, fragile networks of fungus in the soil. Like, trees send warnings to each other about pests and diseases. Here at Walker Brook, Enbridge is scraping up soil, breaking all of these types of network, and hauling it away in trucks, installing lifeless layers of sand and gravel instead. And for Enbridge to then think that they'll bring some of that soil back to cover this up and restore any semblance of the landscape's original integrity is absurd. Number 3, for a moment imagine that Walker Brook is your relative. This is part of the Anishinaabe worldview, that if we call a water body a relative, we for one thing remind ourselves that we humans depend on clean water and that we should care for our sources of clean water as we'd care for, say, a wise elder parent. So imagine for a moment that Walker Brook is your elderly parent. You can now see that this pipeline construction radically messed up the flow of water down the hill into the stream, kind of like messing up blood flow in a person. And then Enbridge's first fix didn't work, their second fix didn't work, and now they're on to their third fix, to the point of stripping away the skin of the earth, scraping away thick layers of tissue, and replacing it with gravel to try to make this more stable for their pipeline. If it was your relative, you'd intuitively understand that Walker Brook has undergone a pretty aggressive and intrusive operation that could have been avoided and will now permanently affect the ecosystem health in that area.